When Patrick Mahomes was picked in the first round of the 2017 NFL Draft, it was one of the more surprising picks of that year. The Chiefs already had Alex Smith, and they traded up spending a future first-rounder to take a very risky player at this position. At the time, I'll be the first to admit that I didn't really like the pick. Since then, Mahomes has already proven me and countless others wrong. I'm more than willing to admit that he's vastly exceeded my expectations, and he's already become one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league. While this may be the case, and while yes, I do actually think he's elite, Mahomes, just like every other quarterback in the NFL, can still improve. The improvement is what I want to focus on for this video, as I still think he has room to get even better. Now, before we really begin this breakdown, I need to be abundantly clear on two things. This video is not all meant to bash him. It's not a here's why Mahomes is overrated and why he doesn't deserve the giant contract he's about to get. The scope of what I'm looking at here in this video is simply looking at him objectively as a player and seeing what he can still improve on. That's it. Please don't read anything more into this video than that. The second thing I want to point out before we begin is that Mahomes dealt with a couple of injuries this season. He injured both his ankle and he also dislocated his knee as well. For this breakdown, I try to purposely pick games and plays to show you where both these injuries had as little impact as possible. While watching his tape, it was pretty clear he wasn't 100% for a large part of the season, and I'll more than acknowledge that throughout this video. However, and even though this was an issue, I still strongly believe we can still learn something by studying his tape this year. So with that out of the way, let's start with the first area of improvement. We need to talk about accuracy. While Mahomes is generally pretty accurate, especially on deeper passes, the one thing I noticed from his film was that he has a habit of overthrowing his receivers. He put too much air on the ball and he'd steal the passes right over their heads. It happened on all three levels of the field. It happened when he had good footwork, and it also happened when he was running forward attempting to make a play out of structure. Now, there's a chance that his ankle injury caused some stiffness with his follow-through. That may be at play here, but I do note that throughout the season, he sailed a few too many passes for my liking. Last year, it was kind of interesting, was that when he missed, it was in the opposite direction. He actually underthrew some of his passes right into the dirt, so it's interesting that he went in the opposite spot this year. Now, one thing you may notice from some of these clips is that Mahomes' footwork wasn't always consistent. This leads me to my next point. His footwork and how he connects that to his throwing motion wasn't always in sync. If you remember the classic Michael Jordan fadeaway jumper, where he posts up on a defender then shoots the ball while falling backwards, that's what Mahomes does on a regular basis. He uses this motion when he simply doesn't have to. He'll be coming out of his drop, and instead of planting and throwing with good technique, he'll fall backwards while making his throw. This motion causes some of these misses. Now obviously Mahomes did hit on a number of these throughout the season with the same exact footwork, but some of these throws simply weren't necessary. The inconsistent nature of his footwork is what leads to the ball not going exactly where it needs to be at all times. The same goes for the planted feet throw across the body type of pass that Mahomes does on a regular basis as well. His feet will be pointing directly straight up and down the field, and then he'll throw a sidearm across his body at a target to his left. He missed on a number of these throws. Instead of planting and pointing his shoulders at his target, he'll throw this type of pass, and it's not nearly as consistent as it could be. He missed some targets using this motion when a normal point your feet at the target type of pass would have worked just fine. Another thing I noticed was that Mahomes would also take some pretty deep drops in the pocket as well. On a number of his passes, he would drop to roughly 9 or 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. This was something I pointed out that he did during his time at Texas Tech. This caused issues for his blockers up front. Taking a 10-yard drop threatens the integrity of the pocket since it allows edge rushers an easier angle to the backfield. Instead of stepping up into a clean pocket, Mahomes would sit back and would take a hit or throw under pressure when he could have avoided in the first place. Now this observation didn't happen all the time, but it does happen roughly once or twice a game when he's making a routine throw. The in-structure type of play is what's the concerning bit for me. To go along with pocket integrity, Mahomes will also on occasion miss pressure coming straight up to middle or through the B-gaps. A defensive tackle that beats a guard early will get to him before he sees that pressure. There were a few times where Mahomes had a defender right in his lap and he'd drift into that pressure without sensing it. This pressure would then impact his throw and it would consequently affect his accuracy. Now this, just like what I said about dropping too deep into the pocket, didn't happen all the time. Mahomes is absolutely incredible at improvising outside the pocket to extend plays. However, just like what I said before, it happened enough for me to make a note of it as well. The final thing I'll say about this point is that when Mahomes does move in the pocket, he tends to take big steps and big jumps going from one side to the other when smaller steps are needed. This type of feeling and movement will simply come with more experience. The last major thing I want to point out to you is that I think Mahomes gets caught in the gunslinger mentality that made him such a risky prospect in the first place. Take this example in Week 2 against the Raiders. The Chiefs motioned Mecole Hardman from the slot and around the backfield to see how the Raiders reacted. Since nobody trailed directly due to this motion, it's safe to assume Oakland was in zone coverage. The Chiefs ran a form of a flood concept, with 3 receivers hitting different landmarks going up the left sideline. Meanwhile, Travis Kelce ran a deep over route in order to drag the safety, while Sammy Watkins ran a post, attempting to find space behind the zone that Travis Kelce just helped vacate. On the defensive side, the Raiders actually covered this play perfectly. They ran cover 3 with a jump call to protect for this exact situation. The jump call has the safety jumping on the over route, while the outside cornerback replaced the safety to protect against the post. This movement and shifting of responsibilities mid-play ends up confusing the quarterback. Mahomes started by reading this play left to right, seeing that the safety cut the over route. He then moved on to Sammy Watkins, thinking he had a free play. Somehow he missed the memo that the cornerback bailed to replace that deep zone. Mahomes should have seen this, and he should have moved on to work his way from high to low, finding Hardman underneath. This would have been an easy 5-yard pickup. Instead, he unleashed the dragon and threw the ball down the field anyways. This was a poor decision when he had an open receiver. The other thing you might notice before we move on from this play is Mahomes actually had a clean pocket while reading this. In theory, if he moved on quickly enough from Watkins, he could have noticed that a hole the size of Texas opened up to the right of the center. Even if Mahomes was dealing with some sort of ankle issues, he still probably could have hobbled down the field for a 20-yard gain. There was nobody on the side of the field. Either taking the 5-yard pickup to Hardman or scrambling through this wide open hole should have been the move on this one. But this play can be simply chalked up to a missed opportunity. Here's another example the following week against the Ravens. Mahomes got very lucky on this one. After moving outside the pocket and to his left, he looked down the field for Sammy Watkins. Watkins had a defender dropping underneath him, and yet Mahomes still launched the ball across his body. This is a very dangerous throw that he's very lucky it wasn't picked off. Moving from right to left and throwing back to your right is not a safe or intelligent play at all. I'm actually kind of surprised Mahomes didn't see Demarcus Robinson running a dig route from the left side. With Mahomes buying extra time outside the pocket, he could have thrown a much safer pass to him at the 40-yard line. This would have been a much safer throw and had a higher chance of completion than the one he currently did. While I can sit here and point out a number of plays where Mahomes either went full Rambo or tried too hard to where it cost the Chiefs points, Mahomes' style of play also leads to a ridiculous number of big plays too. The classic scramble around backwards while keeping your eyes down the field touchdowns simply don't happen when you don't have his combination of crazy arm strength plus mobility. These traits are what allowed guys like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson to excel throughout their careers. It's helped them great wins when other quarterbacks would kill to literally have this talent to be able to do the same thing. I'll say this just like I said in my Daniel Jones video and just like I said in my Dak Prescott video as well. It's all a balance for this type of play style. Mahomes does way more right than he does wrong, and I'm more than happy to deal with the consequences of his negative plays. Even on 2nd and 16, when you expect him to take what the defense offers, Mahomes knows exactly what to do to beat this coverage. The Colts are playing a combo coverage where their outside corners are playing man while the rest are playing zone. Due to this coverage, Mahomes could take a free 6 or 7 yard throw to Robinson any day of the week. This would set the team up in the field goal range, and honestly, I wouldn't blame him for making this 3rd down semi-manageable in this situation. It's a lot easier from an offensive play calling perspective to call plays at 3rd and 10 in field goal range than from 3rd and 16 outside of it. Regardless, instead of taking that free 6 or 7 yards underneath, Mahomes scrambled outside to extend the play, knowing that the extra time he just bought would allow his receivers a chance to get open. That's exactly what happened here. Mahomes sprinted left, saw that Kelce uncovered himself at the 17-yard line, and he threw the ball sidearm and down the field to pick up the 1st down. This is an aggressive play, and it worked in this situation because the improvisation helped Kelce for the big game. While I know this video is primarily about improvement, it's way too easy to get starstruck watching Mahomes perform basic plays. Even routine passes he does with such ease that it's impossible not to want to talk about those plays with you guys. So with that being said, the last thing I want to bring up in this video is the one area of his game that really surprised me. I'll be perfectly honest with you and say that his level of anticipation completely blew me away. He has a really good feel for when a receiver is about to break and where to place the ball. The pass is often out of his hands before his target has even located it, and Mahomes does a great job putting it where it needs to be. Usually what I see from a quarterback with a big arm is that they'll rely on that same arm strength to overcome poor timing. This is simply not the case for Mahomes. I was shocked at the number of perfectly timed lob tosses and perfectly timed bullet throws that got to his receiver exactly right on time. His anticipation was so good that combined with this crazy arm strength that his receivers weren't always ready for the pass in the first place. There were a few drops by my count when the receiver didn't snap their head back quick enough after they broke. I rarely see this, and it's even rarer to see this from a 3rd-year quarterback. It's extremely impressive. To wrap up this video, Mahomes is clearly an elite quarterback. The combination of being incredible under pressure, being great at creating off-script plays, and being so incredibly talented that he can make every single ridiculous throw all over the field is what makes him special. What takes Mahomes to the next level is that he's really improved with little things, throwing with anticipation for plays and structure, while also having the ability to improvise on plays when he's forced to create gives them opportunities to make plays. Now, I don't want you to think I'm being hyperbolic when I say this, but as it stands, Mahomes is already building an incredible resume of what you need to be a first-ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, already winning MVP and winning a Super Bowl as well. Dude is seriously that good, and he's going to be incredible for a very long time. In my opinion though, if Mahomes continues at this level for the next 10 years, and if he improves on the things that I pointed out in this video, the conversation won't just be about the Hall of Fame. We're going to get into the divisive talk about including him with the likes of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady for the debate of greatest of all time. Well, that's all I have for you in this video. With July 4th coming up next week, I'm going to take a week off to visit with family and then enjoy the good weather down here in Texas. When I come back, I'll start looking at some younger wide receivers like DK Metcalf and Michael Gallup, so make sure you subscribe and keep an eye out for those videos. Until then, take care of yourself, and you can follow me for my latest updates on Twitter at Samuel R. Gold.